Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. If you are new here, welcome. It is so awesome to have new listeners onto the show. If you are returning and you are a fan, a friend of the show, thank you so much for tuning into another episode. Always the reminder that you can follow this podcast, if you haven't already, on the following social media platforms. You can follow on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at The Root of the Sci Pod, or on Facebook and in LinkedIn on The Root of the Science podcast, and also on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe, and also subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so that you know when a new episode comes in. Also, a reminder that you can support this show by clicking on the PayPal link and donating as little as $5 or $1. You know, a little goes a long way, so please do so. Click on the link at the bottom of the show notes. It'll be greatly appreciated. Now, let's get into today's episode, shall we? My guest today is Dr. Justina Onumah from Ghana and also based there. She is a senior research scientist specializing in the field of economics, innovation, and development. She is currently working at the CSIR in Ghana. She's a former Next Einstein Forum ambassador, a mother, a wife, and also a mentor. In this episode, she talks about the root of her science, of course, passion for STEM advocacy, and her current research interests. Tune in to hear about all of this and, of course, so much more. Let's go. Hi, Dr. Justina. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne. Good. You're having me today. It's quite a pleasure.
It is such a pleasure to have you on. It's been a long time coming, but I'm so glad we have finally, have finally made it work.
We made it.
I'm really excited for the listeners to get to know you as well. For the purposes of, for everybody to get to know you well, may you just give us an introduction? Who is Dr. Justina? Where you're currently based? And just briefly, what do you do?
Okay, thanks, Anne. So I'm Justina Onumah. I have three names actually. So my full name is Justina Onumah. Ajua means a Monday born, a girl who is a Monday born in a Ghanaian context. So I am from Ghana. I currently based in Accra. And I from a family of, say, 10 siblings, with 7 alive currently. May God bless the souls of the departed. I am a mom, I am a wife, I am a researcher, I'm a mentor. I wear a lot of hats. But basically what I do, I'm a researcher in the field of economics of innovation and development. So basically, I look at the impacts of innovation, the impact of science. I also look more into research policy linkages. And I'm also a girls mentor. So I do a lot of mentorship for young girls and even for PhD students as well. I have a PhD in development studies from the University of Ghana. But my background is actually agricultural science. So I know we'll get into that later, but basically that's who I am.
Wow, that was amazing. That's a wonderful intro. Like you said, we are going to get into every single thing that you do, well, most of the things that you do, rather, because there's a lot. And like you said, you wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah.
I found it quite interesting about your name, that there's a specific name that they give for being born on a Monday.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So
so interesting.
Yeah. So in the Ghanaian culture, we are mostly named after the days we are born. Some choose to keep it informal, so it's not part of the official names, but everybody has a local name based on the day that you were born. So I'm a Monday born, so I'm Ajua. So if you're a guy and you're a Monday born, you are called Kujo. So it does. So next time you meet any Ajua, know that the person is a Mandevon.
Now I know. I'm going to go to one of my friends. I have a friend who's Ghanaian, and I'm going to be like, what is your weekday name? This is so interesting.
So, and
this
which
is so
day were you born?
I was born on a Tuesday.
Tuesday, you are Abina.
Abina.
Yes.
Wow, this is amazing. I'm sure like all the other people listening now are like, oh, I wonder what my Ghanaian name would be if I was born. Wow, no, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Okay, so you said in your intro that you are a mom and you are a wife and you are a mentor. Like you said, you'd wear a lot of several hats. So before we get into the sciences, I think you've lived a pretty interesting life, or you are living rather a very interesting life, very full life, in your very various roles that you that you do. So if you ever had to have like a book, right, written about you, like an autobiography, I don't know if that's a dream of yours one day, but let's hypotheticalize this. What do you think the title would be, and why?
Oh, God, Anne.
Do you think it would be, okay, fine, let me make it easier for you. Do you think it would be more of like your name, or would it be something more deeper,
My name, probably no. Maybe something that has to do with balance.
Okay.
So
wow.
The balance, because honestly, my life has been all about the balance, like trying to find my balance, making sure that I don't tilt, and like the skill doesn't tilt onto one half, leaving the other half behind. So maybe something in the area of balance, finding her balance. She's a balance girl on a balance.
Yeah.
Like something like.
No, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, something that has to do with a balance somehow.
I think that's very important, especially as a woman, as a successful woman, there is that whole thing that you cannot have it all. But I think it's important to find that balance in your relationships, in your work, in your way that you give to people. So I think it's a very important idea. And with the various roles that you do, I think you try to do that, like you said already.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I don't know how I do what I do, but I just get it done. So I think my life is all about balance. I don't know. So something around those lines, probably, yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, when you write this book, I'd like to claim that we had this talk first.
Okay, I will acknowledge that.
That we had this talk first, and we'll definitely ask for an autographed book. Just so that you can inspire a lot of women, because that's basically one of your passions already. But before we get into, where you are right now, it's very important for us to understand how you got there, right? So let's start at the genesis. How did you get into science? Why science? Was it something that you always knew that this is something that I want to do, or was it more a matter of circumstance?
I always say that how I got into the sciences, I want to borrow your last word. It was a matter of circumstance. And for me, I don't think I've even used that word is better placed than the way I use it. I use it as an accident. Like I always say, I accidentally got into science. Sciences were not something that I actually dreamed of being in sciences. Why? Because I actually I grew up not very privileged, in the sense that I think my dad found himself at the latter part of his years in a small town. So we were born in a small town somewhere in Ghana. And that place, we hardly saw role models, right? So if I always tell people that you actually become what you see. So it's the things that you see that kind of inspires you to become something. So it's either you are seeing it physically with your eye, or you are seeing it like imaginatively, right? So probably you imagine your life to be something that you want to become it, or you see somebody's life and you want to emulate such life. But growing up, I didn't get that privilege to see that aspect of people to say that, yeah, I want to be like that. So for me, growing up, the people I saw that I wanted to be were the people who were on TV. So, so looking at my environment, the people I saw growing up, I couldn't say that I wanted to be like anybody closer that I saw. But for those who were projected on television, then I began to see myself. So probably in my eye, they were the heroes and the heroines, right? So I wanted to be a newscaster, to be on TV, to be casting the news. Then at the point I saw some lawyers, then it was fancy for me. I was like, okay, so I needed, all my mind was to toe along those lines of arts, right? So exactly. So for me, I wanted to be a newscaster, or I wanted to be a lawyer. Science has never crossed my mind, because even our teachers, we've had this phobia for science, right? They tell us science is difficult. People tell you science is difficult, especially for a young girl. Science is too difficult for women to do. Women don't succeed in science, and so women have to choose so-called what we say the easier courses. But these are the things I tell my girls currently, like there is no subject, there's no course that is easy. It is easy because our minds have been shaped in such a way that we've been told that it's easy, and our minds have been shaped in a way to be told that some courses are difficult. So we get into them knowing, with all that in our minds, saying that it is difficult or it is easy. So it becomes difficult or it becomes easy, depending on how we have been brought up to conceive that notion. So for me, science wasn't an option at all, because it wasn't something that I thought I could do. And I had not seen scientists. I had not seen even female scientists. I knew fine. I think the closest I knew that if you read science, the closest you could do was to become a doctor. Right? That one, yes. That one we knew. And strangely, until my dad passed, and then I was putting together his biography, that was when I realized my dad was also a scientist, but he was in the medical sciences. So my dad was, my dad was in malaria research, so that was his field. But strangely, I didn't see that part of his life, probably because when I was growing up, he had gone on retirement. So I didn't see that part of his life, and probably he didn't bring that part of his life also on to me. So it was kind of just go to school, get something doing, and wherever the wind blows, you kind of follow, right? So that was my. So then, how did I get into sciences? We were supposed to choose courses. And so for Ghana, when you are finishing your junior high school, moving into the senior high school, that's where the critical point is. So whoever you want to become, the courses that you choose from junior high school to senior high school actually determine your path sometimes. So we're supposed to choose courses, we're supposed to choose schools. And I remember that day when we were going through the process, our teachers were helping us to select the schools, to select the courses. So at the point they said they were tired and we should come the next day and continue the process. So in my head, I wanted to do general arts because, I wanted to become a newscaster and I knew it would be in the arts. Exactly. So in my head, I was going to choose general arts and just either become my lawyer or become a newscaster. So the following day, we went to continue the process. And then this teacher, who was an agric teacher, he said, "Oh, I filled your courses for you." I was like, so he chose, like he looked at everybody and then just decided to give us courses. I sometimes when I said that, I really think that probably he just did anything. I don't think he really read into what he was doing. He just probably because he thinks nothing good can come out of. Because honestly, the school I attended, if I tell you that background, that's also another whole story to begin with. So probably there was no hope, and then he was just randomly giving people courses, thinking that nothing good can come out of these kids, right? So yeah, so I told him, so I asked him, so what program did you choose for me? Then he goes like agric science. I was like, agric science? Like how? Like, why would you give me
What is that?
What is that? Like, why would you give me agric science? I never understood him. So I asked him that, but if you would give me agric science, why won't you give me science, like general science? What makes you think that you have to give me agric science? I didn't really get him. And at that time, it's too late. The phones had already gone, and then I couldn't do anything about it. So honestly, going to senior high school, my point was that I was going to change the program.
Yeah.
And see what God will do. I mean, everything works together for our good, right? Sometimes the path that we choose, exactly, we don't know how, but it's ending somewhere. So we got to senior high school, and then they had the opportunity for people to change to the art. So they will call maybe this program. So if you are in science, general science, you want to change to general arts, you can come. Now, when it goes to those who were originally in agricultural science, that you want to change to general, they told us that general art is full. So it meant that I had no choice than to read agricultural science. Now I got to realize that agricultural science is actually not the agricultural science I studied back in senior high school. The agricultural science I was going to read was actually sciences, except that because I did physics, I did chemistry, I did maths. Then the only difference, I didn't do biology, I did general agriculture. So everything about the agricultural science program was actually science. Then, you know how people think that chemistry is difficult. In fact, that's the notion. Chemistry is one of the most difficult subjects in science. Then I get into the agricultural science class. I realized that chemistry was actually my favorite. So that was a point of reckoning for me, I'm telling you. So then I said, no, you know what? I think this phobia that has been attached to sciences for so long, it's not really what it is. So because I got into the sciences, then chemistry was so easy for me. Chemistry was actually my favorite subject back in high school. So then I knew I could do it. So that was the point of reckoning. I was like, Justina, you know what? You are here and you are going to do it, and you're going to do it well. So that's my root of science. That's how I got into the sciences, and I got stuck.
What a story! What a story!
Yeah.
You know, you've touched on so many important things. The first one, which I firmly agree on, is when you said that when you were growing up, you did not see people who looked like you, and what you said about the visibility. So you cannot aspire for something that you don't know actually exists. Yes. So I think it's so sad that for many Africans, it's a general story, and also about what you said about this narrative of science, where it's such a hard subject, it's difficult, and already many of us go in there thinking, why, you know, it's easier to do these sciences, and then like you said, here you are realizing that, oh no, hold on, wait a minute.
I can do this, really.
I can do this. And I'm actually good at it. And, you know, look at where you are now. And just touching on it, you know, with this whole idea of why, you know, the sciences, especially for women, there's not a lot of, growing up, now it's better in this generation. There's a lot of more representation that's currently happening. And there's a lot of intentionality in bringing a spotlight of visible role models for young women and girls to get into sciences. For example, this month in February, on the 11th, we celebrated the International Day of Women and Girls in the Sciences. And for me, when I was reading up on this, I think one of the stats that I found so shocking was where a report from UNESCO that women constitute less than 30% of the world researchers. That is absolutely shocking. You know, a little just over a quarter of the people, but that's a huge proportion of a huge gap between men and women in the sciences. So, given these low stats and also just your own personal journey, just you speaking on your own route of the science, you are obviously very passionate in your introduction about advocating for sciences, especially for women in STEM. So can you just speak more on this and why you do what you do?
Yeah, so you're very right. The women representation in STEM, it's better now, but we still have a long way to go when you realize that just 30% of us are in STEM compared to the male population. So I do what I do now, and I have people who go like, why am I always for the girls? Why am I leaving the boys?
Yes.
And anytime I hold a program, that's the kind of critic. Why am I always here? So you see, I'm for girls because I'm a girl. And I'm for girls because of what I was made to believe, which it turned out to be false. But the boys are not made to believe those things. So for me, it is like a burden or like a responsibility laid on me to tell other girls that what we've been told, that sciences or the STEM is not for us, is actually false. And you see, the thing is that we are not trying to coerce everybody to be in STEM. What we are trying to do is, if you have the interest, do not fear, you can do it.
Yes.
Some people have the interest to be in STEM, but because of the notion and the stereotypes attached to STEM for girls, they tend up shying away from it. So my mission is that as long as you have the interest, and you see, sometimes it's not even about having the interest. As we spoke earlier, is the exposure, right? It's the representation.
Yes.
Some people, they don't have the interest, not because they are not interested, because they've not been exposed to what STEM can do for them and what they can do with STEM, right? So for me, it's more of giving back what I did not receive while I was growing up. And saying that, women representation in STEM, it's all part of this inclusive development that we are all projecting. And it's a source of economic empowerment for them as well, because the field of STEM, actually, statistics show that it promises like 30% salary increase. Like the STEM field salaries are like 30% more than probably other fields.
Oh, wow.
So imagine if you have more females in STEM, it means it's an economic empowerment for them as well. So it's not just about representation, it's about contributing to inclusive development. So I remember this February 11th, I held a session with my girls here. And what I did was to show them accomplished women scientists that have lived and their contribution to STEM. And you are amazed how these girls didn't even know that the things that probably they thought it was a male-dominated area, it was actually women who created them.
Yeah.
Right. So, showing them the first woman who went to space, showing them somebody like Ada Lovelace, the first computer engineer, like showing them these amazing women, telling them that they can be like them. So it kind of generate the interest in them and make them know that, after all, it's not a male-dominated field.
Yes.
And actually, for us who do these things, one of our goal or one of our hope is that in the future, we will not be having International Day of Women and Girls in STEM, because it would be something that would have to create a conscious effort to have a day to celebrate it, but we will all be part of it. So because the same way we don't have International Day of Women, of men and boys in sciences, because they are there. So they are there. They don't need any more day to celebrate them. They don't need any more day to bring more awareness to them. So for them, it's not there. But International Day of Women and Girls in Sciences is there because we are not there yet. So the hope is that in the future, we'll not have these days being celebrated because we'll all have a balanced field, a balanced playing field will be there. There will be no stereotype. The resources, the opportunities, there will be equity, and there will be access. Like that's mainly what we hope for, and why I do what I do, to give back to the girls what I did not receive. Because honestly, if I had been coached, I had been mentored into the field of sciences, I would have been a better scientist than what I am now.
Yeah, from the get-go.
Exactly, from the get-go. I'm sure by now I would have been creating things. Probably I would have been into engineering, because like creativity, I would have been creating things. But because I did not get that background, it kind of leapfrogged, and then I kept on jumping from one step to the other on my own and all that. So yes.
Yeah.
It's just to guide you girls. Yeah.
No, that's so true. I like what you said about that. In the future, there will be no need to have a day, because we do it in the sense that because of these very low stats. But if the stats are balanced and there is equity, then there won't be a need for us to be, like you said, so intentional. And also just the whole idea of, you know, sometimes when you are one of the first person to sort of navigate the space, like how you did it initially, you were sort of going about this blind. You did not know what you were doing.
Exactly.
You were not sure exactly what you're doing. And even where you are right now, I'm sure 10 years ago, you could have never pictured yourself to where you are right now. But given the fact that you have your own journey and you've done this journey, you're able to go back to the girls who you mentor or who look up to you, and you sort of provide them with a map, you know, so that they can know, okay, this is where you go. Okay, from here, this is where I go. This is how I do it. And it makes it, I don't want to say easier, but it makes it more manageable, and it makes it more like, even if I hit a snag, okay, maybe I can speak to Justina and realize, oh, okay, this is how I maneuver it. Because when you were doing it, you had no idea who to go to, what to do. And yeah, it's a lot. So I commend you on your work, and I'm sure the women and the girls who you mentor honestly reap the benefit of your wisdom and your knowledge in this field. So congratulations and continue the great work that you're doing. Okay, so now I think it's very important for us to know the great work that you do as a researcher, and why these girls are looking up to you after all, like where you eventually landed up to. So you mentioned that you are a senior research scientist and an agricultural development economist at the Science and Technology Policy Research Institute of the Council of the Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, in Ghana, and you are involved in various different projects. So I'm going to speak on the first one that you are looking at, which is assessing the distributional impact of innovation support programs on SMEs from equity, diversity, and inclusion perspective. Okay, I'm not much of an economist, so I don't have an economist background, but can you just give us more like an idea of what this particular project is about?
Okay, so I work as a researcher in this institute. It's one of the 13 research institutes under the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. So we are more of the, let's say, the social science wing of the CSIR. So we do more of science and technology policy related research here in Ghana. So as I said earlier, so my navigation through science, though I did agricultural science at the high school, I continued on agricultural science at undergraduate level. Then when we were majoring, I majored into agricultural economics. So I kind of left the natural sciences to the social science wing of agriculture. So that's basically my background. So I'm basically interested in agricultural development. So the economics of agricultural development, the economics of any development, whether it's agriculture, whether it's SMEs, like small, medium enterprises. So this first project, we have a couple of projects that we work on in this institute. But this project is actually looking at impact. So as I said earlier, my aim is to look at the economics of innovation and development. So if there has been any innovation, what I'm interested in to see is how or which pathway has it impacted on the people that they are supposed to impact. So this project is actually assessing one government intervention that tries to look at support programs for youth enterprises. So what we are doing is to measure the distributional impact. So when we say distributional impact, we are looking at various levels. So how does the impact of the support that government gave to these SMEs, how has it affected males and female enterprises? Does it have any differentiated impact in terms of the regional location that these SMEs are? In terms of people living with disability against people who are not living with disability, are the impacts differentiated? So like all these distributional levels. So that's what we are doing. And it's very important because of the way that the project focuses on the equity, diversity, and inclusion. So we are not just lumping the impact assessment together, but we want to look at various levels, as I've explained, so that in the end, we will know that, okay, this program that the government supported these SMEs have impacted this group of people in this way, has impacted this group of people in that way. So basically, that's what that project looks at.
Oh, interesting. And I see where the societal aspect of it comes in, and obviously that's very important in terms of the work that you do. So on the second project, the one that we're going to talk about, you said there are a number, but I just thought we'd talk on one. So you focus, that was more on the societal aspect. But then there's another project that you're looking at, which is promoting the wider uptake of water smart solutions using treated wastewater for agriculture use and biochar from fecal sludge. So I think that's more of the natural sciences now. So it's a beautiful synergy. You have your feet in both places.
I'm telling you.
Can you tell us more about this? Yes, go ahead.
I always tell people that this is my advantage, right? So when you speak social sciences, economics, I'm able to contribute.
Yes.
When you go to the natural sciences, I'm also there. So this project, I remember we had one of our workshops, I think 2 weeks ago. And when the natural scientists came and then they were having their presentation, they were mentioning this reaction, oxidation reaction. And I was like, okay, that's redox. I remember it from my chemistry. So this project is actually kind of bringing my natural science appetite back. So basically what this project does is it's all about this circular economy concept, right? And turning waste into energy or turning waste into something. So we are circulating the systems. It's all about this trying to solve climate change, the environmental impact. So the project actually looks at how we can turn waste here. The main biomass of waste is our fecal waste from various household and industries.
Yes.
So what we are doing is to turn these products into energy and also into like irrigation for agricultural use. And these are treated. So in Ghana, especially for urban agriculture with vegetables, there is this notion that they use gutter water. So if you say gutter water, so it's like this wastewater passing from people's homes, going through these drainage system. That's what some of the farmers actually use to irrigate. So then this project comes in to say that instead of using that water, we are saying that we are treating this water for you. So it goes through a lot of processes. So we have this company called SSGL here in Ghana. It's a big treatment plant. So they are having that treatment. So our role is to be able to coordinate that and then the dissemination of especially for the biochar. For people the notion that this charcoal or this energy I'm using is from fecal sludge. That's exactly. So But actually, when you see it, if nobody tells you that this
You
is
wouldn't
it, you
know.
don't know. You wouldn't know because there's no stench from it. It's just black charcoal. That is just black charcoal. And so that's what we are trying to promote, that use. And then also for the wastewater is treated. So it's way, the nutrient level is good because it's been treated and because it's coming from, a biomass and this combustion and all that. So it's treated and it's healthier for the crop. So it's way better than what we term as gutter water that these farmers are using. So we are trying to promote the wider uptake of this. So the project is called Wider Uptake. So we are trying to promote the wider uptake. In a way, we are solving the waste issue. In a way, we are contributing to the environment. So instead of using charcoal for wood charcoal, we are saying that use this biological charcoal, which is, so we are just turning the waste and then just entering it. So like this circular economic concept, that's what that project promotes. It's actually a very interesting one.
It's a closed loop. No, that I can speak on because I have some idea. I have colleagues as well who are working in this, and it's very interesting. And also from an agricultural uptake, just knowing the amount of nutrients that come from your wastewater in terms of your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and also the whole idea of biochar. So there, for me, I totally understand. And we actually, there was a part where we did a whole perception study as well, once upon a time, with people about the whole idea of them to increase the people's interest and exactly. But then when you look at the history of it, you recognize that, like, wait a minute, the use of urea from urine was actually being used a long time ago. So it's actually quite interesting. And I think I once read this one paper or something which along this topic where it said that in terms of the uptake and perception, that the people who are more resistant were people in urban areas than people in rural areas, because in rural areas, from indigenous knowledge, they understand this with using
they know those
exactly
things. Yes, they know those things.
Like the urban people are like, oh no, that's so disgusting. And like you said, that it undergoes so much processes that it's actually not. No, this is very interesting work. There, I can have a whole conversation with you on the natural science aspect. But in terms of but I think it's quite beautiful that you said that you are able to be in both of these worlds, because as much as the natural science aspect is important, but the societal aspect is important, because as scientists, at the end of the day, we are trying to solve societal issues. And we, in terms of the economic side of it, there's policy that is needed to support the work that we as, the natural scientists are doing. So I love the fact that you are able to sit in both of these worlds and contribute effectively there.
So I remember, when the person said, okay, then it goes into reaction oxidation, I was like, that's radon. So I was like, how do you know? I said, yes, I know, because I'm a scientist. It was quite interesting.
It's true. So Justina, this is quite interesting, the work that you're doing, and it's been amazing for us to know about your research interests, as well as some of the things that you're very passionate about. But I think it's very important for us to discuss, rather to talk about how you and I connected. And that is because, it's because of your affiliation with the Next Einstein Forum. You were an ambassador 2019 to 2021, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it was official. I think it officially was 2021, but it stretched up to the 2022 because there were no cohorts for that. So they are now calling for the next cohort. So all the cohorts from 2019 actually ended their tenure in 2022. So
Oh, okay. No, then that makes sense. So my correction, 2019 to 2021. So for those who are unfamiliar, the Next Einstein Forum is an initiative which is aimed at promoting science in Africa. And you were the ambassador for that year, specifically for Ghana. So can you please tell us more about what your role as an ambassador actually involved? And if somebody is interested, how do they get involved in being part of the Next Einstein Forum?
Okay, so the Next Einstein Forum was, I think, one of my major springboard to doing the things I do. To intensifying the things I used to do, now becoming more aware and more intentional about the things I do with STEM. So as an ambassador, my role is, as an ambassador, you're supposed to represent something, right? So I'm supposed to represent the face of STEM and to encourage young people to be in STEM, to connect STEM to society. So this is where you bring in people and society, so people and science together. So basically the things I did as an ambassador was to create awareness, more awareness of STEM. And that was when I got very intentional with my mentorship things, especially with girls in STEM. So actually, because it was now a response, though I used to do them on the sideline, but becoming an ambassador, I needed to be very intentional for my impact at the end of the day. So I would say that the Next Einstein Forum really kind of opened my eyes to the things that I really needed to intensify, to be more intentional and to be more serious about. So that was the period. So during that period, we organized African Science Week as well. So that's a week-long celebration that is to put a spotlight on science. So we did a lot of programs. We did a lot of mentorship sessions. We brought a lot of accomplished scientists to talk about their works, to engage. So the kind of bringing humanity and science together with some of the things we project during this African Science Weeks. We do programs on science communication, anything that tries to get the word of science out there, because scientists are mostly in their labs and hardly do they come out communicate. So it was so the Next Einstein Forum actually, based on the activities that we do, because the main thing is to connect science to society, right? So however you want to do it, to popularize science, to become to advocate for science, to put the science word up there, to raise the next Einstein, basically. So we believe that the next Einstein can be an African or will be an African. So it means that we need to raise that generation of Einsteins, right, to be able to become the next Einstein. So the next Einstein, people were like, why the next Einstein? Then I told them that, it's just a figurative representation of an accomplished scientist, so not necessarily that we want to. So, okay, usually because I do girl stuff, then they'll be like, why is it not next Marie Curie? But why is it? So,
hey, that's a good question.
Sorry, they told me that. Why next Einstein and not next Marie Curie or something? I was like, no, it's just to represent the fact that an accomplished scientist, not necessarily Einstein, but just to raise the next generation of good scientists in Africa. So, and it's actually opened more doors for me, because it was through Next Einstein Forum, then my work became more visible. So then, when you kind of pitch to others, you have more evidence to show. So honestly, it was a platform for me to grow as well. Though I worked, it was also a growing opportunity for me.
Wow, that's amazing.
And because of that, we are here today. So.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Look at that, a springboard and a level of connection. And that's amazing. I love that, because, okay, I'll be honest, I also didn't understand why it was called the Next Einstein Forum, but now I also understand, and I think it's pretty cool that it's based around that notion that the next inverted comma Einstein is going to come from not from Africa, rather. No, actually, there are already a lot of Einsteins that are coming out. Yeah, so that are coming out from Africa.
Generation of great scientists from Africa. Yes, basically.
No. Fantastic work. Fantastic work. So if somebody's like, wow, that's something that I would love to be a part of. And I do a lot of, initiatives like you do, like you said, you were doing before. And I would obviously appreciate that type of springboard, like how it was for you. How can they get involved? How do people get involved in this?
Yeah, so for the Next Einstein Forum, they call out every cohort, I think every 2 years. So currently there is a cohort that has been called, but I think it has not been announced yet. So usually there's a call every 2 years to become an ambassador. And if you want to become an ambassador, you need to show forth that you're already doing something in the line of science and society, right? Yes, stakeholder engagement in science, policy engagement in science. You need to show forth that you are doing something. So the next 2 years, that will be, we are in 2023. So I'm sure 2025, there's going to be another cohort. So if you are planning to apply or to be a Next Einstein Forum ambassador for your country, then it means that between now and 2025, if you are not doing some things that is worth like considering you as an ambassador of STEM, you have to begin to do them so that you can build your portfolio. So all that Next Einstein Forum is looking for is somebody who is able to connect science to society. Whether you are doing mentorship, whether you are doing stakeholder engagement, whether you are already in STEM, like typical STEM, and you are working as a scientist. And I think apart from the Next Einstein Ambassador, they also have the Next Einstein Fellows. That is purely to build the scientific capacity of the fellows. So those ones, they don't do the legwork. I always say that the ambassadors do the hard job. The fellows kind of are the in Ghana we call something called Dadabi. So Dadabi, it's daddy's girl, like so.
The princess,
the princess and princesses exactly. So the fellows actually there. Then they are just the Next Einstein is just building their scientific capacity, giving them opportunity. But for the ambassadors, we do a lot of work. Because you have to connect science to society. So we need to hold events. You need to engage with people and all that. So that's it.
Oh, exciting work. So you heard it here, folks. If this is something that you want to do, you better get started moving on whatever. And I think it's also very important that you must just start where you are. Because sometimes we wait to be involved under, for example, the Next Einstein Forum. And then you say to yourself, then I'm going to start doing something. But it's like, just start where you are.
When you try, sometimes when you want to force yourself into something, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You don't get the, how do I call it? The evidence to show that you've been doing it. So it doesn't work. So you need to start from somewhere, really. And one other thing that you can do is to get yourself engaged in the African Science Week celebration. So people, the ambassadors who roll at African Science Week within the period of their tenure, and just get involved, do something, volunteer something. So that way you can even cite that as an activity that you've done under the Next Einstein Forum. And it could fetch you some scores, right? So yeah.
Yes, and you'll be on their radar. Exactly. Like, hey, who is this person? By the time you're busy putting in your application, they're like, hey, that name sounds familiar. Exactly. They were involved somewhere, somehow.
Exactly. Like right now, if I want to apply for the Next Einstein Fellow, right? If I want to become a fellow, I'm already known as an ambassador. So the names rings a bell. And I think during our tenure too, we did a lot of pretty good work. So it kind of, your work will speak for you. That's it. Yes.
And I think that applies for anything in life, not only for this.
Exactly. Your work will speak for you. Your works will speak for you. Yeah.
Fantastic. No, Justina, it's been amazing chatting with you. I had such a great time. Yeah. So before we leave, can you just give us some words of wisdom? It can be about science or it can just be about life in general. Before we go, just some parting words that you've learned in your journey so far and which might be in your book that you will write one day.
Okay, now you're giving me a lot of pressure to think about that book.
Yes, the agenda is there.
Okay, so for me, my pattern words would be, especially for the field of STEM. STEM is a versatile field. Like virtually, if you see, just look at me, I'm from a natural science. Then now I'm into social science, and I can do anything within the sciences. And it has endless opportunities. Like you can branch into endless fields in the field of STEM. So I will encourage people who have the interest and want to create things, want to contribute to sustainable development, inclusive growth, to consider STEM. And if you're already in it, you see the problem is staying in STEM. You can get them in STEM, but staying in STEM, especially for women, becomes a challenge. So just go for it, work hard at it, and just have a focus. Get somebody to mentor you, really. Because when sometimes the going becomes very tough and then you want to give up, your mentor is there to hold your hand to tell you that, you know what, I've been through it. I've also been through what you are going through now, and I've come out, and so it is possible. You can go for it. So that's for STEM. And for general life story, I would like to say that we have to be intentional with the things that we do. Opportunities don't just wait for us. We need to prepare to meet opportunities, and whatever life that you want to build, you have to start building it now. However you want to see things, you have to see it now so that you can become it and show people the way. You know, it's very fulfilling when you show people the way and they're able to become something than only you showing yourself the way and becoming it. It doesn't, there's no sense of fulfillment in that. But when you show people the way and they become it, even if you've not gotten to the level that those people have become, it's a lot of fulfillment for you. And that's the kind of joy that as humanity we need to experience, to give back to people what we don't even have, or what we wish we could have had and we did not have. Let's give back to people. That's what I would like to say. Yeah.
Yes, fantastic advice. And like you said, it brings a different level of fulfillment, because I think at the core as humans, we benefit from helping others, not necessarily benefiting materialistically, but I just think at a core level, it's so important. Yes. And I had a mentor of mine who, she's late now, but she always used to speak on the idea of when you have climbed the elevator of life and you've gotten to all of these high levels, it's always important to bring the lift down and press ground. So that the whole idea of that, like, once you are here, bring the lift down so that somebody else is able to rise to be there with you. So thank you for being evidence of that, of bringing the lift down, and just the work that you do. I am so glad that I was introduced to you. I am inspired, and I'm sure every single person who is listening is also inspired and motivated by your journey and the work that you do.
Thank you, Anne. It's a great pleasure having me, and I know this has been a long time coming. So we are both happy that we got to do this today, and I'm grateful. I just hope that people find the story inspiring enough to be able to be what they want to be, and also allow people to be what they want to be. Give a platform to people to be who they can be. Yeah, thank you so much, Anne.
Thank you. Fantastic. And to everybody else who's tuned in, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. Until next time, goodbye.